Hi everybody, welcome to Caketastic Cakes. It's Jen and I'm going to show you today how to make Chico Bon Bon out of gum paste. And if you see me using any tools or supplies, check out the link in the description below. It should be able to help you out. And here we go. Alright, to begin with Chico Bon Bon, I'm going to start with his body. I took some gum paste and I colored it with copper because he's not actually really brown and he's not really orange. He's kind of in between, so I chose to use copper. I kind of made that very gently rounded off square shape you see to the right, and his head is going to be an even bigger gently rounded square shape to the right or to the left. I am going to put a little piece of a lollipop stick into the body to then connect the head to. His head is enormous. It is bigger than his body. He's one of those guys. At least his body has a little bit of girth to it, so it's not so terrible, but he's got a really big head. I also flattened it off in the front in order to add his face. I just took some more of the same color copper and added a whole bunch of white to it to make it a lighter color, but we're still in the same color family. So I pressed down the top of the face there that you can see. It was kind of round. I pinched in at the sides where it went flat. So this way he's going to have cheeks that stick out and are rounded, and where his eyes are going to go is tucked in and flat, more close to his head, to try to give him a little bit more dimension and try to follow that shape that his head, that his face has. I cut that little V shape out of the middle. That'll go between his eyes. And when I get it to the right shape, lots of patting that I edited out there because I was like, pat, pat, pat. I took all that out, but once you get it in shape, attach it with a little bit of water. Using my ball tool, I'm hollowing out 2 big divots to make his eyes. And his eyes are huge, so be generous with the divot that you make. I'm filling them each with a little ball of white gum paste. Fill it all the way up. Making another hollow inside the center of his eyes for the iris. His eyes are kind of like a tealy bluish green color. So that's what I'm trying to do here, filling it in with some teal. I put a little black ball in the center of each one for the pupil, and he is like the most hyper alert, aware monkey you have ever seen. I added 2 little brown dots of gum paste there for his nostrils, and they kind of go between his eyes, so they're small and close together, so pay attention to that. I'm doing his mouth. I just hollowed out his mouth, and the mouth is kind of in the middle of the part that comes out, but also doesn't go too far past his eyes, so also be careful with the size of that. I filled it in with some black, but it's still recessed. I didn't fill it in all the way. I just gave it kind of like a black background. I'm cutting a very thin little rectangle of white here for his teeth that I am going to put across the top there. And I gotta say, I'm a little bit jealous because they're perfect, and right now I've got 2 kids in braces and it sucks. So I'm a little jealous of his nice neat teeth there. All right, now we've got his teeth, we got his face. You can see I put ears on. I don't know what happened to footage. I thought it was recording, and I think my battery died. It was just 2 balls of the same copper gum paste with a little ball of the light color in the center. And then I flattened them a little bit and cut off a side just to stick them to the side of the head. I added 2 little white pieces for the highlights there, and now I'm going to add his headband. His headband is, as you could probably guess, just a white, long stripe of gum paste. And I'm going to add a very thin little red stripe of gum paste down the center of it. I'm rolling it out as thin as I can. And then I'm going to very, very carefully try to trace out a little skinny stripe that I'm going to try to lay down nice and neat. There's a lot of trying here. There's a lot of attempts and ease for efforts in this headband. And I got to tell you, I had to redo this headband like seriously probably 5 times. It's just a stupid headband, but it gave me so much grief because it was too fat and then it was too thin. Anyway, and to get it to fit, I had to trim off the top of his face there above his eyes to bring it down low enough so it would sit just above his eyes, because it doesn't sit real high on his head. It sits just above his eyes. So you kind of got to be careful of the location, but you got to make sure that little V shows between his eyes under the headband. So pay attention to that. You might have to do some tweaking. All right, this is the same copper color as before. Rolling out lots of pieces. I'm going to make a tail right there. I'm just going to curl it and put it to the side to let it dry. I didn't do anything else with it. I'm going to roll more pieces, as you see, long thin pieces that are going to become the arms and the legs. I'm going to specifically work on the legs here. So I've got my 2 little orange pieces, and now I'm adding his tube socks. And all I can think of when I was doing this was SpongeBob how he's got just a little bit of leg showing and then the very tall white tube socks with the stripes on it and the big bulbous shoes at the bottom. So I don't know who was the character designer of Chico Bon Bon, but maybe he got inspired there, or she, I should say. Maybe they got inspired there. All right, now I'm working on his shoes. They are red blobs of gum paste, as you can see. I took a white circle of gum paste, cut it in half, and now I'm basically cutting out like a little hat. So I've got a brim along the flat bottom and just round it off at the top. That is going to become the part of his sneaker that goes up and around the toe. You can see I put a sole on there, but it was no good. I got rid of it, so I'll fix it and show you the proper attempt in a little bit. So pretend you didn't see that. Pretend you only can see the toe going on. So wrap the flat bottom part of the hat around the bottom of the shoe, and then the top part of the hat wraps up and over the toe, and you might have to tweak it a little bit to make it even. Got to make sure it doesn't jump away because they are very jumpy, these little pieces. And do the same thing with the other one. Make your little hat, put water on there to make it stick, wrap it around the base, curl it around the toe, and then fix it so it looks a little bit more even. Because, yeah, you might have to do some tweaking. Here's how I did the sole the proper way, because it was just too small before. I put it on the gum paste after it had the toe attached, and then just traced it. Nice and easy, right? Like no tricks here. A little bit of water, stick to the bottom, and then the sole actually like sticks out around the toe and everything the way it's supposed to. I tried the other way. It just didn't work. So that's what you want to do for those. Now to finish up our sneakers, you're going to add 2 little rectangles to the top, just like that. That's going to become what's supposed to be the laces. I put little marks in it with my knife. You can't really see it though from this distance, but they're there. I cut out a whole bunch of little rectangles, little tall skinny ones to make the racing stripes on the side of his shoes. So there's 2 for each side. So there you go. That's what it looks like. And then poof, there you go. There they are on the other side. And make sure you have a little gap between them. There is like a little space. And what you do for the one, poof, you do for the other. See, I'm using my magical word poof there. So now I've got my sneakers. They're all nice and racy looking, very exciting. Now I'm going back to his socks. I'm adding some very dark blue that I rolled out really thin as I could get it, and cutting out thin little stripes as thin as I could make them. And I'm very carefully going to wrap 2 bands around near the top of his socks. So once again, channeling our SpongeBob energies, we are making tube socks for our Chico Bon Bon and just carefully reattaching them. Nothing is actually attached, like the legs and the shoes and everything aren't attached yet. You're going to see what I end up doing in a second. I'm just making sure everything matches up. I ended up trimming the bottom of the heel off a little bit so the shoe will sit flat on the surface and stick up in the air like that. But this is what I did. I flattened the one end of the leg, trim it off so it doesn't stick out too far, add some water, then press it under his little hiney there. Now I'm going to put the tube socks on with a little bit of water. Try not to mess up those stripes. I messed them up. I had to fix them. The shoe goes on, and then the shoe fell off. So what we have to do, add a little piece of dried spaghetti. I just shoved it all the way up his leg, through this tube sock, through his leg, into his hiney there. Trim off the extra however you want, snap it off. It's just dried spaghetti. Add some water, and oh look, it doesn't fall off now. Hooray for victories. And yeah, this is like me learning how to do this, so take my experience and run with it. All right, same thing on the other side. Shove that piece of dried spaghetti all the way on up in there and break off the extra. Put a little piece of dried spaghetti in the tail. At this point, it's had enough time to set, so you can see it's holding its shape very nicely. Thank you, gum paste. Stick it in however you like so you can see it, and then move on. We're going to do his belt now. His yellow belt, his tool belt, because he is a monkey with a tool belt. Chica Chica Bon Bon, Chica Bon Bon. I got into that theme song. So I just cut out some yellow gum paste, long stripe of it, kind of thick. He's got a really big tool belt compared to his body size. Just wrap it all the way around. And then we're going to decorate it. And again, this is like where he looks so cute there, right? He doesn't look creepy at all. From the top, he looks creepy, but like face on, he looks cute. I'm going to do the little emblem on his tool belt first. I cut out the same color blue as his eyes, or the teal color. I cut out a circle, and then I'm just trimming off some edges to make it into whatever shape that is. Geometry was too long ago. Stick it on his tool belt, and then I took a little piece of yellow and crinkled it up for that lightning bolt he has. A little red rectangle. I'm using my little swizzle straw there to cut out 2 little nips from the end and pinch in the center, and there you go. You got a little wrench that took no effort at all. Stick that in the middle of his blue symbol there. Put the lightning bolt on top with a little bit of water, and you will have his tool belt well begun. And again, this is where it kind of fell apart because I thought that I had recorded doing little tools, but I didn't. So yeah, I'll discuss that in a second. This is how I made his hands. I took a piece of that same beigey color before, make a flat circle out of a big thick flat circle. He's got really big hands and only 4 fingers. So you cut out the thumb, cut out the little triangle between the thumb and the first finger to make it stick out more. Cut 2 little slices for the fingers, round them off, put them into place, and then add your arm. And there you can see the tools on his tool belt. They were just little gray pieces I rolled out and then stuck to the belt and then put a little rectangle of yellow over. I'm sorry, I don't know what happened to it. Final touch, I'm giving him his little fur details. I'm using a brown edible food coloring marker and just putting some very fine little lines just kind of here and there all over him, over his head, his arms, his legs, his body. And there you go. Chico Bon Bon, Chico Bon Bon. Yes. So I hope you found this video helpful. Please like and subscribe because I find that helpful. Please check out my many other videos. I'm also going to have his cake coming out very soon. And as always, thank you for watching Caketastic Cakes.